Hello. Hi. Welcome to another episode of Gabbing It Up. It's just me. If you're wondering, where the hell is Daijah? Why am I just looking at this little tiny Hailey on my screen? Ooh, so little, so tiny. Yes, I'm just a tiny Hailey. It is because Daijah is locked out of her building. She's just currently locked out of her building, unfortunately. So it's just going to be me today, and that's fine. We're going to see how this goes. Just having a little Brittany Broski coded solo podcasting moment. And honestly, I believe in myself. So y'all will have to let us know if you like a solo episode, if it's cute, if it's a fail. Be brutally honest. That is totally fine with me. So today's topic is star ratings. How do we rate books? How do we know how many stars to give? I will be going through my rating system and telling you exactly what I think. I'll also be going through the usual segments, just no reaction. So I'll have to sit with my own feelings. This will kind of be like when the comments are turned off on a TikTok and you don't know how to feel about it because all of a sudden you have to like use your own guidance, your own feelings. You have to like tap into yourself and think, what do I feel about that? Instead of letting the comments decide what you feel about it. So this will be interesting, but I'll just go ahead and get into my personal update. I actually had something quite big happen today. My video went up about Goodreads. I'm urging people to delete their Goodreads account. If you have not seen that video, you can watch it on my YouTube channel, Hailey Hughes. I'm imagining that you probably discovered this podcast episode because you already watch my YouTube channel, so you probably know where to find it. But if you missed the last couple episodes, I also talked about this situation regarding Goodreads on the podcast 2 weeks previously. Goodreads took down my review of the book that was targeted at me in order to, like, it was written to intimidate me and make fun of me. And it was disgusting. And I don't like this author, to put it very lightly. But that is what he decided to do, and Goodreads stood behind him. Instead of taking the book off the platform, they took down not only my review, but every other quote unquote suspicious review that went up at the time. And that was pretty rough for me. It didn't feel right at all. I felt like they were just standing behind this abusive man who already has gone away with so much, and I wasn't going to stand for it. So I made an entire video about it, and that went up this morning. Y'all, I could never have prepared myself for this reaction. I do not want to be emotional right now, but I don't know why. Some part of me, the big part of me, was preparing for hate and misogyny. And I just thought all of the comments would be like, nobody fucking cares. This isn't that big of a deal. Like, why is she complaining about this? Why does she think that people actually care about this or would change how their behavior is based on her experience? Like, I genuinely thought that that's what the comment section would look like. And to see everyone saying like, I stand with you, you're so strong, like just kind things, I am completely blown away. So if you left a kind comment on that video, or if you deleted your Goodreads account, or if you made a Storygraph account, or if you took any action to stand up to this person who is victimizing me consistently without stopping, like, it means so much to me. I appreciate you so much. And I never prepared myself for anyone to really care or take action or listen. I literally was just preparing myself for the hate comments and the we don't care comments. So to see the love coming in is like really incredible, honestly. And the Storygraph Goodreads data upload is actually like down right now, which is so crazy that so many people were switching their data over from Goodreads to Storygraph, that they're having technical issues on their site. Like, that makes me so happy. Obviously, not that they're having technical problems, because I don't want that, but it just makes me so happy that like people are actually doing the thing. Like Angela Bassett did the thing. Like, y'all are doing the fucking thing. Y'all are taking a stand. Y'all are not doing the easy and convenient thing by just staying on Goodreads, which is very accessible. You're going out of your way to do something that's right, if you believe that it's right, which obviously I do. So thank you for that. I'm so grateful for my community, for all of you people who are doing that. Just thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you from the bottom of my heart. That is my biggest update. That has been what's on my heart today. I felt a little bit low energy and just like anxious and nervous all day. So yeah, it's just been great to get the love and to give myself a little bit of grace and a little bit of space and just feel that love. So thanks. My next update is Magnolia Parks. Okay, this book right here. If you're watching the video, you can see it. You can see all my tabs. Oh my God. I am obsessed with Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. Y'all, I was very resistant to reading this book. I always have this going into reading a popular book. I just resist it. I just don't want to read it. I don't know why. I don't want to read it. It's a weird thing that I have. It's not like a pick me. I don't want to be like the other readers. Like, it's not even that. It's just like, I feel pressure to feel a certain way when I read a popular book. And that's part of being a reviewer, part of what I'll get into later in today's episode. But Magnolia Parks is freaking amazing. It's blowing me out of the water. It feels like if Ugly Love was not romanticized, because I think it's pretty notorious at this point, like my hate for Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover. I hate that book. I despise it. I think it's horrible. I think it romanticizes a relationship that's really, really toxic. And I spoke at length in previous videos about how I experienced a relationship similar to the one in Ugly Love, and it's not romantic and it's not cute and it's not fun. It might feel like that when you're in it, but it's just fucking not. And Magnolia Parks captures that dynamic without romanticizing it necessarily, without calling it ideal. Like it very blatantly calls out the flawed parts of this very toxic relationship between the two main characters, while at the same time acknowledging like how real and how heart-wrenching and how gorgeous it is for the two people that are a part of it, even if it's painful. So interesting read, but I'm loving it so much. My last personal update is fuck the IRS, okay? Fuck the IRS. I paid my taxes and I'm mad about it. I'll be totally real. I think the tax rate and all the little weird fucking taxes that small businesses have to pay is absolutely abhorrent. I think if I work for the money and I make the money, I should be able to keep the money. I'm not a part of any institution. Okay, I don't understand why I have to pay it. You might be losing your mind, pulling out your hair, or wanting to mansplain or womansplain or they-splain or whatever you are. Explain to me what's going on. I don't want to hear it. I'm just a girl letting you know I hate paying my taxes. I don't want to pay 5 figures in taxes. It feels like a crime. It feels like I'm being robbed. And speaking of being robbed, here's another update for you. Curtis, the fucking crazy criminal, triple C, if you will, who tried to steal my car, fucking came back again and tried to steal it again and failed again. So he just did more damage, unfortunately, that I had to pay for. I'm just feeling very broke right now and very victimized. Like, I am a broke victim. Like, this isn't even me being like that. Like, it's just the facts. It's just what it is right now. It sucks, but I'm trying to look on the bright side. I don't have too much for pop culture corner today. I was honestly looking forward to what Daijah had to say, but I do obviously have to talk about Lana Cella. I mean, we have to debrief Lana Cella. If you don't know, Lana Del Rey, my favorite musical artist, headlined Coachella this past weekend, and she's going to headline Coachella this coming weekend as well. She looked gorgeous in custom Dolce & Gabbana looks. She rode in on motorcycles to the tune of Jealous Girl, an unreleased song, which is so iconic of her. She sang beautifully, and she had this gorgeous, wonderful presence, even though her audio was shit and her mic kept cutting out. She brought out Billie Eilish. It was iconic and amazing. And I watched the live stream of it on my couch at 2 a.m. and I sobbed. And I don't regret it because it was life-changing. It reminded me of how I felt when I saw her concert this past September. Oh my God. I loved every moment of it. And it was like a religious experience. I also cried at the concert. I was reliving all of that sitting on my couch. And I'm like, the power of this woman to make me feel such strong emotion through a screen with her music and her presence and her words. She's just phenomenal. So I love Lana. I love that she's back in her little Slay era and she seems like she's taking over the world. Like, I'm very much in support of that. So good for her. The other pop culture corner thing that I have is it's ridiculous. I'm being so real. It's ridiculous. Okay. So I heard about this drama that was happening on Stan Twitter. If you don't know what Stan Twitter is, it's this side of Twitter where all the stans live. And a stan is like a crazy obsessed fan, usually of a musical artist. I do identify as a Lana stan. I don't identify with some of the activities that Lana stans get themselves into. Stans tend to be like over the top, over dramatic, and chaotic and bordering on like toxic and horrible. And this situation I'm about to tell you about is definitely a toxic and horrible situation. So there are these two accounts on Stan Twitter. One is Kenzo. Kenzo is a fan of like Meg Thee Stallion, Dua Lipa. Like, those are the people that Kenzo stands. Jasmine is this other account. Jasmine is a Barb. Jasmine is a Nicki stan. And these two got into it on Twitter. So the Barbs had leaked Kenzo's address. I think I should note, this is important. Kenzo is a minor. Okay, this little boy, this little twinkish little child. Address was leaked on Twitter. Literally terrifying. But as an adolescent does, Kenzo was like, yeah, if y'all are real, you already leaked my address. Why don't you pull up? Why don't you come and fight me? Blah, blah, blah. Because he's an adolescent. And that is developmentally completely normal and expected for an adolescent to do. It seems crazy to you and I because we're adults. But this kid, I mean, he was scared. His address got leaked. He said, come and find me and fight me. Thinking that nobody would do that, obviously, because who the fuck would go try to fight a minor? Well, I'm going to tell you who. Jasmine. Jasmine took their ass across the country from California to Arizona, paid for a flight, showed up at this person he did not know, Kenzo's home, and just starts screaming and posting videos from outside of Kenzo's home. Well, Kenzo, being a child, comes out with his dad. His dad is feeling threatened. Like, there's literally some crazy internet person on his property. He comes out with an axe. So there's a video on the internet now of a barb being chased with an axe. Y'all have to look this up. There are videos from both sides, like both Jasmine and Kenzo filmed their own perspective. And while it's like insane and kind of Black Mirror and kind of depressing, it's also iconic and hilarious. Like hilarious. You should really look into it. It's really just both. It's really just both. It's crazy and it's sad and it's also so fucking funny. Because there's this one clip of Kenzo saying, like, you came here with the intention of hurting me, and you have been spreading these threats all across the internet and online forums. And Jasmine's response to this accusation, which is true, is to not question any of the threatening behavior, but instead to just say, forums? Literally can't get over it. Jasmine let everything else slide, was not even going to defend themselves around the threats, the violent behavior, the psycho behavior. No, what they really took qualms with was forums. Don't be saying I'm on Reddit. Don't be saying I'm on 4chan. Like, I know in that moment, Jasmine was thinking, I'm on Twitter, girl. Calm down. It just led to some of the most hilarious and of the time content that could ever be viewed. So that was crazy. Also a win for the Gabbing It Up podcast, because we've talked about in the past, we're hotties over here. We love Meg Thee Stallion here at the Gabbing It Up podcast, H-Town Till I Drown. We stan Meg. And we've also talked about Nicki and her problematic shit. I think we had like multiple pop culture corners in a row where we were talking about Nicki and her R-word husband and her R-word brother and her all the essay that she just seems to let slide against young girls. Very disturbing. We're not barbs, and it's nice to see a hottie win and be defended by their father with a literal axe against a wild barb. So that was just some wild shit that I thought I would tell y'all about. Now moving on to my squish of the week. Da 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 da. Let me get her. So this is my first squish I ever got in my life. It is a massive holographic bat. I don't know what their original name was because I ripped off the tag, but I named it Upsy after the upside down. Cameron actually helped me come up with that name. And I got it around the time Stranger Things season 4 was coming out. And so it was giving like the murderer of my boyfriend, you know, no spoilers, but like the bats of it all. I have a bat tattoo, you know what I mean? So we love Upsy, the original squish in my home. I'm a stan. That's the squish of the week. And finally, our last usual segment before we get into the episode today is a lore nugget. My lore nugget today is I wanted to share some pet lore. So I think everyone knows I'm an animal lover. I talk about that all the time. I'm a big Chihuahua lover. Obviously, if y'all have been around my channel for any length of time, you know Boba and Mochi. You know all the things about my love for pets, my love for Chihuahuas, yada, yada, yada. Well, I wanted to share the pets of yore, if you will, some pets of the past for you. And we will go to the OG, which is Diva. Okay. Diva was my first dog. Not my first dog that I had in the home, because my first dog that we had in the home, his name was Waldo, and he was a little Shih Tzu, I believe is what it's called. Shih Tzu poodle. And that was really my mom's dog. Like my mom got Waldo as a young adult. Like Waldo was my mom's Boba. Like Waldo is to my mother as Boba is to me. So I didn't really feel like I could fully claim Waldo, although I did love him. But Diva, that was my girl. Also the fact that I named her Diva, and nobody was sitting there like, this girl is LGBTQ coded. Like, nobody was thinking that. They were like, Diva, all right, period. Like, that's the name. Moving on. So Diva was my first dog. We don't really know what type of dog she was. She was just this big ass mutt. And she kind of was giving German Shepherd a little bit, but she had floppy ears like a lab. Oh my God, I loved her. And her name was Diva, so iconic. She passed away a couple years ago, or a few years ago now, but she lived and she really set the standard for iconic girly pop dogs that I will have for my whole life. So she's the original. One that's more niche, I feel like I've referenced Sage on this podcast before. So Sage was my rat. And I know what you're thinking, what's going on? A rat? Yeah. I wanted a pet. And I brought it up to my mom. I was like, I want a pet. I think I want like a hamster or some guinea pig or something. Well, my mom, being anxious, who could ever imagine that I was birthed by an anxious woman? I don't know. Not I. She said sarcastically. No, my mom did a ton of research and found out that rats are actually like great pets. And they learn really fast. Like, you can teach them tricks. And they're basically like miniature dogs if you get the right species. Like, the right breed of rat is a fancy rat, not a Dumbo rat. I'm being so dead ass. Those are the names of the breeds of rat. So my mom was like, we're going to get you some fancy rats. And we did. There was a whole situation with the rat dealers. We met them in the Kroger parking lot off Craigslist. It was kind of crazy. And we really shouldn't have done that. But that's how we acquired my rats. And the one that ended up staying with me was Sage. Sage was a queen. Sage was an icon. I used to carry her around in the pocket of my hoodie and feed her goldfish. I used to play with her in a little tiny like swimming pool, like one of those little like kiddie pools. I taught her tricks. I featured her in videos I would make as a child. Sage was just all around iconic. Also, she's a rat, but like, she's the queen of the rats. Like, she was honestly so cunty. Like, it was like black, like so dark brown, it's almost black fur. And then she had like brown kind eyes with a ring of like light blue around her eyes. She was honestly gorge. So that's Sage. My last girly pop pet that I wanted to give you the lore on is Kelly. And that's because Kelly, I feel like, really emulates a part of my spirit. I feel like all of my pets that I'm talking about right now emulate a part of my spirit, but Kelly is different because she was so short-lived, but so iconic for the time that she was here. So if you're from Texas, you've probably been to Galveston Beach, or at least heard of it. It's a popular, like, cheap beachy vacation destination for the residents of Houston, Texas, or at least in my neighborhood. It was always like Galvia weekend. Like, you would go to Galveston with your family and go to the beach for a little bit. And so we went at one point when I was a child. I don't remember how old I was. And they have hermit crabs at the gift shops there. I don't know what kind of tourist trap idea this was, but it was genius, okay? Because they roped us in immediately. Me and my brother were like, we need the hermit crabs. Y'all said we could get one thing at the gift shop. We choose crabs. So thus, Kelly was born. She was my hermit crab that we took home from Galveston. My brother had a very creative name for his hermit crab. His hermit crab was named Foodie. That's right, Foodie, because Foodie, his main character trait was he liked to eat food. So, you know, Foodie it was. Well, Kelly was a big bitch. Like, let me just tell you something about Kelly. She was massive. She was like the queen crab. And that's why I picked her. Like, she was getting after it in the hermit crab enclosure. She was big. She was in charge. She was stomping around and like her. Also, her shell was pink. It was like hot pink with like little designs on it. I think like hearts. And I was like, that's Kelly for me. Like, that's really Kelly. And Foodie was giving submissive and breedable. Okay. Foodie was small and gentle and kind of giving frail Maddie Healy-esque energy. Well, things went well. We brought Kelly and Foodie home. It was all dandy and great until we woke up one morning and Foodie was gone. He was literally just a shell. He was a shell of his former self, literally. Kelly ate that man. Kelly is a man eater. And that was my fucking crab. So seriously, I can't. So we got Diva, we got Sage the rat, and we got Kelly the man-eating crab. Those are my pets of yore, and I hope you've enjoyed today's lore nugget. Now getting into today's episode, all about book ratings. I'm just gonna walk you through my rating system as a book reviewer. I feel like some people make videos on this. Maybe I should make a video on this. I thought about doing that, but it just feels like it wouldn't be that like long or like full of an episode. So I'll just tell it to you here and now, and you can get the tea exclusively on Gabbing. By the way, if you'd like to see my face as I'm giving you this tea, see my facial expression, see my little jokes in my body language that y'all don't even see, that you totally miss when you're just listening to the audio, you can subscribe to our Patreon where you can access the video version and you get it early. And if you join our top tier, which is only $5 a month, you can also watch us record live. So you could be responding to me in the comments right now saying, hey, hi, hello, yes, join. Thank you to the comments that are saying that. Yes, join. Watch us live, contribute to the conversation. Anyway, what is my book rating system? So I do rate books 1 through 5, as is standard, but I do use quarter and half stars. Generally, I try to stick to whole number ratings when I feel like I can, but if a quarter and a half star is like called for, I'm not afraid to go there, but I do try to stick to whole numbers. I had this like weird thing in my brain for a while where I was like, I can only do whole number, like I don't know, like the half stars would freak me out for some reason. I don't know, again, anxious girl. But I've kind of gotten over that. I feel like that's a little bit of character development for me, so yay for that. When I give something a 1 star, it is, I hated it. Like, I could sugarcoat it for you, but I'm not. It basically means I hated it. I did not like the book. If I give something a 2 star, for me, that means it is just not for me. Like someone else could like this. It has something that like rubbed me the wrong way, or it's just not for me. This is not a book suited to my taste. So it's more subjective than just a blanket 1 star. I do not recommend this. A 2 star though, and maybe this is more like 2.5, is I'm disappointed by it. Like if it's something that really is just an average book, but I had high expectations and I was disappointed by it, I'll be real and say it. I'll give it 2.5. Because how dare you? How dare you get my hopes up like that? You know what I mean? So that's that on that for the shitty books. Once we get into 3-star range, I feel like this means average. Like if I give something 3 stars, it's good, but forgettable. Maybe I had some issues with it, but overall it was fine. 3.5 is where I feel like I rate a lot of the books that I read. Majority of the books that I read, I feel like I rate 3.5 out of 5 stars because a lot of books that I read are just fine, maybe a little forgettable, and maybe they had like a little good element in there that I feel like I want to reward it by giving it that extra 0.5. When you bump it up to a 4 star, for me, that means it's great. Genuinely, I recommend it. Whenever I make my recommendation videos, I literally scroll through my story graph and pick out every book that fits whatever category that I'm doing recommendations in that's rated a 4 star or above. I do not put books in my recommendation videos that I haven't given at least 4 stars. Or at least I haven't in the past. I've been like kind of thinking about playing around with that because obviously everyone's taste is different, but I don't know. That is just what I do. But 4-star books are not favorites. You know, like I enjoy them a lot. Maybe I don't have a lot to critique about them, but they're not all-time favorites. Now, when we get to the 5-star is when we start to talk about the 5-star feeling. I've referenced this quite a few times on my channel, the 5-star feeling. I don't know exactly how to quantify it. It's mystical, it's magical, it's the reason why I love reading. And that is the 5-star feeling. I love it so much. It literally means if I give a book 5 stars, this could be my new personality. This is important to me. This is meaningful for me. And this could possibly curry favor in the HCU. As a reminder, the HCU is the Hailey Cinematic Universe. It is the world that I live in my brain because I am not a part of Earth. I live in the HCU with all of my friends there. And my favorite books definitely have relevance in the HCU. Like once I start feeling like, oh, I'm going to incorporate this book character into my HCU, that's a pretty good sign. We're in 5-star territory. We're creating a new favorite here. And then I feel like there are those books that are kind of in the middle of 4 and 5-star where it's technically perfect, but I don't get the 5-star feeling. That's when I will rate a book 4.5. Like Jackal, 4.5. Behind Her Eyes, 4.5. Great books. I really can't critique much about it, but I did get the 5-star feeling. So that's my rating system. Next, I'll go through kind of like signs that stand out to me while I'm reading a book that let me know, okay, this is going to be a 1-star, or this is going to lower my rating in general. The first one is if it's poorly written. And I know that sounds like just a blanket term. Like, what does that even mean? It's poorly written. Poorly written for me is bad grammar, just in general, bad grammar. I'm sorry. This is a book you are publishing. It's been through the editing process. Why is there bad grammar? Shouldn't be there. Repetitive word choice. This is something that gets on my nerves so bad. Ugh. I could literally throw up thinking about it. Sarah J. Maas is so bad at this. Colleen Hoover too. They just have like their few favorite words and they fucking use them to death. Even like repetitive phrasing, I also think that's very poor writing. Like Jennifer Hillier is one of my favorite authors, but she uses this phrase when she's writing dialogue, and it'll be like 2 people in a conversation, and one woman is talking, and it'll be like Sheila said, and then the other person won't be named, and then consistently through the whole conversation it'll say the other woman said. So it'll be like da 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 said Sheila, da 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 da, the other person said, the other woman said, the other woman said. And I just wonder why she can't say the other character's name. It gets on my nerves so bad. And then the last piece of poorly written books for me is if it lacks fluency. If it feels like it jumps around and that's not an intentional part of the setting of the mood of the story, I can't deal with it. If there's bad grammar, repetitive word choice, or it doesn't flow well, I feel like that's poor writing. And that's when I really start to lower my rating. Also, I feel like everyone could predict this one. Misogyny, racism, homophobia that does not feel intentional, like to contribute to the plot. If it feels like unaware or meaningless, poorly written female characters, poorly written POC characters, stereotyped characters. Like I just read an Andrea Bart's book, and I really like Andrea Bart's as a writer, but she wrote this stereotyped as gay man, and I was like, what the hell is happening here? Like that is when I definitely start to lower my rating. Next kind of factor that goes in there is a boring plot. I hate to be bored, okay? That's why my favorite genre is thriller, because I want to be thrilled. If I'm bored when I am expecting to be thrilled, that is the opposite of what I'm looking for. You did not succeed, and I'm done with it. Final 1-star indicator, lackluster characters. I am a character-driven reader. If the characters are not giving, I am not giving it 5 stars. And put that on a t-shirt because I stand by it. Now, what about signs that a book will be a 5-star, or things that if they pop up, I definitely see my rating like rising and rising as I read the book? Number 1, if it's character-driven. Okay, obviously these are all subjective things because these are things that I value. If you're not a character-driven reader, obviously this wouldn't apply. But for me, I am such a character-driven reader that if the plot kind of starts to take a back seat and I'm just so lost in my journey with the main character, that gives me the 5-star feeling. Also, if a book is deeply emotional and it's shown through the characters' actions and experiences rather than told to me in the actual writing spelled out, that will give me the 5-star feeling so quick. That's kind of what I'm feeling with Magnolia Parks, where like she does not have to write it out. I am feeling it. She is showing me exactly these characters' experiences. Also, if there's a beautiful writing style, and by beautiful, that can be like very subjective, but for me, it's 2 things. I kind of mean like beautiful as in flowery. Okay, I know that's kind of controversial. I love a little bit of like a flowery writing style because there's so much intention in it. It feels so like well crafted. I don't know. Sometimes straightforward writing is easy to read, but it feels very like lazy or like, I don't know, like not very much went into it. So I like beautiful flowery writing. I also like a unique writing style, like something that's making a very clear choice, like E. Lockhart in We Were Liars. I love E. Lockhart's kind of like stilted, fragmented writing style. It just works. Eric LaRocca has a really beautiful, very clear, unique voice. Ian Reed has a really clear narrative style. I love when I pick up a book and I know exactly who wrote it without even looking at the cover. I could tell all of those authors. I could tell Melissa Broder. I could tell Karen Slaughter. Like when there's a signature writing style that lets me know exactly where I am in the world of the book and that I'm in safe hands, oh, I love it. That's like irreplaceable to me. Delilah Stoss is actually another one that stands out. I love her writing style. And the final thing that will really just get my goat and let me know 5 stars coming is an unpredictable twist. At this point, I'm so well versed in reading thrillers. I feel like I predict everything. When I don't predict the killer or I don't predict the twist, it's pretty incredible to me. Like I have gotten so good at it, not to brag, but like honestly, it's kind of miserable because I feel like I don't enjoy thrillers as much as when I first started reading them. So when one catches me by surprise, I'm like, this deserves 5 stars 100,000,000%. That's why I love Hidden Pictures so much. I think Hidden Pictures is a great thriller. No matter how problematic it is, let's be so real. It's so unserious. It's a thriller. Let's all calm down. It was unpredictable. And I will give it that. I will give it 5 stars because I do feel the weirdness that everyone's talking about. But I will say it's unpredictable and entertaining. My favorite platforms to rate books on or to review books on are definitely not Goodreads. We don't have to get into that. Honestly, even thinking about Goodreads alternatives that I do like, obviously Storygraph is my favorite. I also got into Fable. I really like Fable, but I don't love making reviews on there. I don't love a written review. I'll be totally honest. I don't want to read a bunch of reviews just to read the book. You know what I mean? Like I very much appreciate looking at star ratings, looking at like mood descriptors or trigger warnings or something that will give me an idea of a book. I don't really want to read a written review. I much prefer just star ratings on those kind of platforms. And then I love to do reviews on YouTube. I love the long form space. It gives me so much room to say what I need to say and to not have to write it out. Like to speak candidly about a book, I think says a lot because I think anyone can really sit there and think about what they're going to write about a book and make their review really eloquent and nice. But if I'm speaking off the cuff about a book and that review is coming together and these points are coming in solid with evidence, I feel like that lets you know how good the book is. If I'm like struggling or reaching or I don't have a lot to say about a book, I feel like that also says something too. So I love the long form content. It's why I'm really drawn to making YouTube videos and book reviews that are in video format. I love it. Wrap-ups are kind of a bitch to film, but I love making them. I'm so proud every time I make one because I really try to make my reviews in that format very comprehensive. I hope that comes across. Finally, I love sharing reading updates in real time on my Instagram stories. I love when other influencers do this, but I especially love to like do that for y'all. I just feel like there's so much community engagement there. You can put a picture of the book, you can put just a little snippet of it. It's like in between filming vlogs. Okay, vlog era, what's going on? In between filming vlogs, I love just like documenting my reading on my Instagram stories. It's quick, it's fun. It doesn't have to be this whole big serious review, but it gets the point across. And so many people, as soon as I put a book on my story, send me messages like, I'm going to take this out of the library. I'm going to put a hold on it on Libby, whatever. So I love getting those kind of messages. The last portion of today's episode. Wow, we're already at our last segment here. I feel like this went so quick, but I guess it is like a one-sided conversation. I hope you guys like this. I hope this was entertaining. But the last section we're going to talk about here is, what is it like to be a reviewer? To be the person that is, having some level of power and authority over ratings and reviews, having some level of sway over the books that people are picking up. I take that responsibility very seriously. And for me, it is half amazing, great, wonderful, could never wish to have another side hustle ever on this planet Earth. And it is half very fucking weird. And the weirdness is not just like odd. It's weird in a pressurized way. It's like there are these unspoken pressure things. So I'll get into it. Obviously, the good stuff, receiving ARCs is amazing. I love getting advanced copies of books that I'm really anticipating so I can give you guys the tea on it, but also so I can read it myself. Like, let's be real, that is fun. I love the Libro FM ALC program. If you have over 1,000 followers on pretty much any platform, you can get approved for the Libro ALC program. Highly, highly recommend you do that. You can get up to like 10 pre-release audiobook copies a month, and they're amazing. Like, I love Libro FM so much. I love their mission. I love getting ARCs. I loved reading The Next Mrs. Parrish so early. I mean, I just love it. I love getting ARCs. That's so great. And that's a privilege of being a reviewer. I also love being able to connect with authors, and when authors see my content and respond positively. Obviously, when people like respect healthy boundaries, that's a big factor. But I was able to talk with Jennifer Hillier. I love talking with her. She sent me signed like book plates for all of the books that I have of hers, and she was so lovely, just like spoke so highly of my content and said that like my video just like made her day. And I just love her, and like connecting with her is so cool. I have a really nice, I would like to think, professional relationship with Eric LaRocca. I just think they're so amazing. Love supporting them, love their writing style, and like they just seem like a really great person. I don't know him personally, but like all of our interactions are just so great. I feel like we're on a similar level. So it's really cool to get to kind of like stand out from the crowd to your favorite authors is really fun. Also, probably the best part of being a reviewer, there's no better feeling ever on earth than someone finding a new favorite book through my recommendations. Like, I live for the messages when people are like, I took your recommendation and I cannot stop thinking about this. This is my new personality. I'm obsessed. Like, to think that I had even a small contribution to them having that 5-star feeling. Oh, that's like the best feeling in the world. I feel honored when that happens. I absolutely, absolutely love it. Now getting into like the weird pressure. I do feel pressure to read every book that comes out, especially when you have like a million people saying, read this book, read this book, read this book, read my favorite book, read this, read this. It's like, I can just, even when it's not intended to be pressure, it feels like pressure. And I feel pressure to read all those books very quickly because obviously we have limited time on earth. We're probably never, unfortunately, this is kind of a bad thought, but like none of us are ever going to finish our TBRs. Like, we're never going to complete them. Maybe that'll be my mission. Like, as I'm dying in my last year, maybe I'll be like 95, still on booktube, being like, guys, my mission this year is to read every book on my TBR. Like, can you imagine that? That actually sounds fun. But anyway, we have limited time. And I feel like I have to read so fast to read everything that I want to read and to read the things that I feel pressure to review. So that kind of pressure is weird, and it takes some of the fun out of reading sometimes. Also, online discourse with authors. LOL. We don't have to get into that. We've been over that. Some people are just really weird. Even people that don't act in like a really boundary breaking, inappropriate way. Like, sometimes you just have weird interactions with authors as a reviewer. It's very obvious that like an author's stuff, like their personal stuff, fears, mental health, whatever it is, will show up in an interaction with the reader, unless they're very aware of bracketing that. It's weird. I've just had odd interactions with some authors. Like, I can't describe it. It's another thing of like weird pressure. You never know who's going to view your video. A lot of authors, especially if they are insecure, are searching up reviews of their books. That's a lot. It's always kind of in the back of my mind now, especially after everything that went down. Like, this author could see this video and could go fucking crazy. So even if they don't go crazy, like, could project some shit on me. So there's that. Also, this is more like directed from an audience kind of place, but there's a pressure to know or to predict everyone's taste, or to know like what will work for everyone. And people, especially in the comments, act so surprised when I recommend books from my own personal stance. It's like, what other key would you like me to go off of? What other information would you like me to use other than my own brain? Because I read things from my own perspective, so I can't recommend from anyone else's. And some people get so mad when I like don't know their triggers, I don't know their taste, I don't know what works for them, what doesn't. It's like, I am not AI, I am not ChatGPT, I don't live in your head. And sometimes people treat you like that, when, especially when you like provide them with so many book recommendations back to back to back that work well. They like come to see you as this omniscient recommender, and they can like blindly trust your reviews. But obviously nobody's taste is exactly alike. So some things I recommend are not going to work for people. And it's so weird when a viewer holds that against you. I just think that is so odd, because I've taken a lot of reviews from a lot of reviewers and, you know, read the book that they recommended and not liked them. And I've never been upset at the reviewer unless I felt like their review was intentionally misleading, which I feel like that happens a lot more in an extreme horror space. So I don't even deal with that anymore. But there are a lot of extreme horror reviews that are like, this is great, this is so fun, and there's so much like fun, nice times in it. And it's like they're trying to do it from a comedy standpoint, but it doesn't land. If something is leading like that, I feel like the audience is totally fine to like be upset with that. But a reviewer's job is not to read your mind, and not everything is going to work for everyone. So that's a kind of a weird part of it. This last one is probably the weirdest one, the one that I think is going to be the hardest to understand, but it's definitely the biggest factor in being a reviewer, in my opinion. When you're a reviewer, whether you have like a platform for your reviews or not, or if you just like a dedicated reviewer who thinks about books critically, I feel like this will show up for you. I notice myself as I'm reading, thinking about points that I want to bring up in a review, or like intellectualizing parts of the book rather than just enjoying the story and like letting myself be in it. And a lot of the times, talking about the 5-star feeling, like when I know a book is 5 stars is because I'm not getting caught up in that, because the book is so immersive or so effective. I'm not calculating like, oh my God, I need to remember to like mention that in the vlog because that is such a big part of this review. Or, oh, I'm going to analyze like this literary device or like the amount of times that this word is used and blah, 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 blah. All of those things that I feel like I think are important to mention in review kind of invade my reading space. And I think that happens to so many readers, not just people with a platform on social media. When you're into reviewing or just like categorizing your reading in some way. Even before I was really on YouTube, when I was just like getting more into book reviewing instead of just reading, I felt that pressure coming in. So that is kind of the full experience of what it's like to be a reviewer, what it's like to rate books, and what my personal rating system is. So I hope you enjoyed the little peek inside my brain as a book reviewer. Hope you enjoyed the lore and the weirdness and just me being like a weird, awkward, anxious little gal in your ears today. And thanks for the gab. Don't be drab. We will see you next time.